think she's sort of in a emotional rut, in a love rut, and it looks inviting. So she calls up her best girlfriend and says, hey, pretty spontaneously, let's go to Jamaica. You down, you in for it? Well, she's concerned about it because she's like 2 whole decades older than he is. He's 20, she's 40. And it's fine when you're in a different land, maybe. Yeah, who knows back home if you don't tell, or if your girl doesn't tell on you. And she meets this young man, and he's very free, I mean, he just moves and sways to his own beat. He's very concerned about us as the actor and our process, and the story, you know.
She's talented, concentrated. So I'm learning all these things from her. Working with her has been a pleasure, you know what I'm saying? The age, at first, it really, it's not present, you know what I mean? It's just, he sees this woman and he's very taken by her. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what it starts out. And then later on, he doesn't really know how old she is, do you know what I'm saying? But I'm sure if he did know, it wouldn't have stopped him, it wouldn't stop me.
I got a phone call saying we're going to do How Stella Got a Groove with Angela Bassett. You interested? I said, well, yeah, okay. Sure. Because I really wanted to work with her. I thought it would be fun, and because of the amount of work I'm trying not to do, it was the perfect amount of time. It was 10 days, and I figured, well, this is a great hit and run with somebody I've been interested in working with, and what better way to say yes? And I'm here now in Jamaica. And Terry is wonderful. She's been really, her presence has been here, and she's been very, very wonderful.
Stella says that Vanessa is tacky. And I guess I would agree with her, but she's tacky in a good way. She's tacky because she doesn't really care about what she says or whose feelings she hurts in the process of saying it. She's gonna say what's on her mind, and she's gonna call it how she sees it. And through this guy, she just, she's laughing again and happy again. But because he is younger, she's dealing with that whole thing. This has really been a joy. I've looked forward to working with Angela, ever since when I saw her in What's Love, and, to finally be working with her. Because in a lot of movies, you are in the movie with someone, but you don't get to work with them. So I'm actually getting to work with her, and I mean, she's incredible.
At the very core of her desire for Stella not to marry this young man is her concern and her love for her sister. She wants her sister to make the right choices in life, and she really sees this relationship with this young man as a dead end. And it's very typical in a family that, that these three people who come from the same woman can be so different, and we are. The atmosphere on the set comes from two people, Kevin and from Angela. And Angela, of course, we all know is a joy and a consummate professional.
My approach to films is to first get inside the material. I believe a director has to be inside out of the material, if you will. If you have no personal point of departure, you shouldn't be there, is sort of my point of view. That's what I look for in material. Something that Terry does better than anyone, I think, is write relationships between women, friendships, and the depth and the nuance and the humor and all of that. So I felt if we brought that character into the movie, then we would be playing in Terry's playground. And the reason Taye got the part more than any other is that he moved her. He made her adjust. He brought something that made her, you could see her reaction to him. And that's what you mean by chemistry. Angela's a filmmaker. You know, she's more than an actor. She understands making a movie and she cares about it, the details. She can take a complex shot and make it work, or a simple shot and make it great.
It's a wonderful book, and it's very Terry. You know, yeah. Terry's so honest and true. That's one of the great things about her writing. The characters that you read in the book are people that you've heard in real life, and it's just very true. I think the story stands on its own. I don't think it's necessarily this is a black woman's story, but it is a black woman's story, and I think one of the great things about Terry's writing in general is that it's colorblind, because I think people read her characters and they say, I know that person, or I recognize something of myself in those people or in those characters. Well, this is a story about romance and about love and about struggling with yourself and the ability to be true to yourself and to let your instincts and your needs and your desires be fulfilled in a very positive way, not necessarily in a selfish way. And I think that's a universal story.
So basically, I wrote the book as a way of giving myself permission, not just to do this, but I started thinking about women in general and a lot of things that we stop ourselves from doing because we think it's not appropriate, or we're always thinking about someone else, and also what other people think. There was not a lot of conflict in the story, in the book. Most of it was internal conflict. And so we had to externalize it. So we had to create situations as well as people that would add to the conflict in order to fuel a story that would make a movie at least interesting, so you could see at least what's at stake. Well, she has a certain kind of power and sensuality and strength that I thought the way that I perceived Stella, she has it. And there's a softness, too, that I don't think you've seen in Angela and other movies. I hope that the whole emphasis on the young and old business, that's not the issue, that's not what they walk away with, because that's not what it's about. It's not about, I mean, he could be white, I could be black, he could be whatever, you know, and he could be 40. You know, it's not about that. It's saying yes when other people think you should say no.